now we're going again for real this time. So yeah, I'm a pro. It wouldn't be an extra life stream if I didn't have something wrong.
Is it happening? We're live. We're doing it.
I believe we're live.
We're live.
Nice.
According to, from what I can see, it should be live.
Looks like we are.
Yeah. There's a bit of a delay on my end. So how's everybody's? It's Tuesday. How's everybody's week?
Good.
Good.
I just finished painting a model today.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
I finished painting Talia Vedra, Lioness of the Parch.
Ooh.
It's a fancy lady.
Fancy, yeah.
It's very fancy.
Hey,
I'm quite proud of it.
A friend from work and outside of work is joining. He's also actually on the Extra Life Chicago team.
Who is this?
Entropy Demon, if he doesn't mind.
Oh, nice.
Why is it not showing up? There we
go. Hey, Mel.
I got 7 viewers already.
And then, okay, so, well, we're kind of waiting for more people to give people some time. I enjoyed our conversation from last time, so I had a thought for discussion. Well, before we start up this conversation,
okay,
this
bring
table
it on.
talk. So,
okay.
In the theme of tabletop board gaming, I would like to know, and we can start. I'll just kind of read off everybody's and go last, but everybody, and Jackie, you're going first since you're in the first in the order. But
okay,
a board game you enjoyed playing when you were a kid. Something you maybe played with your cousins or your whole family.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
So my favorite board game when I was younger was Clue. And I'm also like really sorry to admit that Life was one of my favorites. Now that I'm older, it's like everything I'm against. It's like you can only complete Life if you go to college, get married, have kids, and retire.
You're saying it didn't prepare you for life? That's
no,
as advertised.
Not at all. I want a refund.
Life based on like 1960s or whenever they made it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I consider myself winning Life when I have made the biggest disaster on the board.
Yeah,
just someone who just did not get their
win.
Life.
Nice, good answer, Payton.
Weirdly enough, also Life. I played a lot of Monopoly. I played a lot of is it called Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I played a lot.
Great game.
Nate. Oh yeah.
I played a lot. Sorry. I specifically can hear my own mother's voice in my head every single time she would do something bad to me. Go, oh, sorry.
So good.
Sorry's legit. Sorry's and destroys friendships.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
I get Sorry and Trouble mixed up, and I don't know if I've ever played Sorry.
Yeah, Trouble's on my list.
Fun. Yeah.
From what I remember, Sorry is fun.
Nate, if you want, is that your answer, or do you have a different game you might say?
I have a few. Well, Sorry. Now I just want to talk about Sorry and Trouble. Trouble has the Papa shot or the Pop-O-Matic. That was the best part.
Wait, doesn't Sorry have the Pop-O-Matic?
No, Sorry has cards.
Too.
Yeah.
Sorry has cards, I think.
Yeah, Trouble.
No, then I played Trouble. It was Trouble. I specifically remembered the thing in the middle that you push the button and pass things around.
That was Trouble.
I thought that was Sorry too.
Yes. Pop-O-Matic pops the dice, pop a 6, and you move twice. That's the old saying.
Wow.
Is it really?
I don't know. I don't know if that actually was a marketing thing or if I just made that up. There's no way. It definitely had to be a thing. Monopoly was my game for sure. I I think I shared this to some people. I'll share it on Twitch. I don't care.
Yeah.
I would rent out the library book that would talk about Monopoly, and it would have like statistical analysis on like which spots are better. Like, never go to dark green. It's the worst investment possible. Like, based on the way that dice get rolled coming out of jail, like orange
Monopoly
is good.
strategy.
Yeah, like it's all this strategy tied to this silly game. And then I had like the handheld game as well with characters like Greedy Granny and Hot Shot. This is how much I remember playing the Monopoly handheld game. I could talk Monopoly for a while. So that was my kid game. But I played a lot of euchre in high school. That was my other one that I was gonna say.
Oh, nice.
It was like card games. Very Midwest of me.
Oh yeah. My grandparent. I didn't learn euchre, but my grandparents taught me cribbage growing up. Mine would probably also be Monopoly. I don't know if because I didn't learn this until I was an adult. Like a lot of the rules we used growing up weren't legit Monopoly rules. They were all house rules, like getting, like whenever you pay community chest or whatever taxes, went into the middle. So when you landed on free parking, you got all that money.
Oh yeah, we
that's
played
not
that
a thing.
too.
Yeah, that rule never.
That never.
I don't
existed.
know where it came from.
It was just something we all was like, yeah, that's how you play. But then I also remember like we'd leave the board on the table. Because like when you play with those house rules, like the game lasted forever, so we just leave it on the table and play like a couple nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I do. While those house rules, I mean, we added them too because they were just fun and exciting, right? If you landed on it, I have a vivid memory of hitting the jackpot, landing on free parking, and getting a bloody nose from cheering super excited. Core memory of. And this was specifically Star Wars Monopoly. I can remember which one it was with my siblings.
OG.
Do you all have a favorite Monopoly?
Yeah, I do. It's probably Nate's because I still have my OG trilogy Star Wars Monopoly with the actual like metal pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That thing it's a heavy hitter, but I love it.
Good question.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, and now I also think, is there not a version of Monopoly that like it's weird? It's just somewhere, and I was at a Walmart in a suburb, and that suburb had their own version of Monopoly.
Oh.
Yeah,
my hometown had its own version for sure.
Yeah,
that's commitment.
Yeah. It looks like we've got a bit of a crew showing up, and I know we said we go till about 8, so we should probably start things off. I know we've been rambling. I guess we should have done an introduction, but I figured I'd wait. Do you all want to introduce yourselves? Maybe I know we talked about our favorite kids, but kids game growing up. But if you want to just say like your name, pronouns, and your position or what you do for the guild.
Yeah, I can go first. My name is Jackie, pronoun she, her. I am the program director / hospital liaison for Extra Life Chicago. And I recently started playing D&D and I'm obsessed. So that's what I'm playing now.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi. Hi. My name is Payton. He, him. I am I'm a board member. I am a tabletop / miniature games / Warhammer person. Currently I have been playing a lot of Age of Sigmar.
Awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Nate, half chicken, half steak. I'm on the guild advisory team. Many hats there. Board game addict. Been one since a kid, as we've talked about. I'll share a game that I'm into right now. Challengers is the name of it. And speaking of kids games, it's a lot like War,
Oh.
but it's
Okay.
like combined with auto battlers. So like you get more cards throughout the game. You want the same cards. They have synergies with each other, and then it's like it plays out like war, and it's capture the flag, and then whoever has the most like points at the end wins. Very, very fun. It's on Board Game
Interesting.
Arena. Um, they're coming out with a new set. There's all sorts of stuff there, but it's a great game.
Nice. My name is Dave. He, him. I guess I'm the co-chair of events with a focus on digital programming. So things like tonight's table talk. I want to give a shout out to our new social media manager, Jen, who actually she's the one who came up with the name. I'm like, I love it too much to not use it. And then unfortunately, I haven't had much time to play board games, so I have just been playing Stardew Valley 1.6 update because it feels like a brand new game all over again. And
Wait, really?
Yeah,
This is what I've heard.
I probably have like 200 hours in the game now between PC and
Wow.
Switch. It is so good. It highly recommends Stardew Valley. Going
Okay.
strong.
What's the 15-second pitch on what changed?
They've added more, like, even since like I put it down for a while and then came back in 2020, there was like quality of life improvements. Now there's like more end game stuff, more festivals, more quality of life It's just like
Got it.
There's more to do, and it feels like the days are too short because I want to do it all. So yeah,
Great game. It's a great game.
awesome game. I actually own the board game. I just need to play it, so maybe we'll have to break that out sometime.
Absolutely.
And speaking of board games, we are here to talk about a little bit of board games, tabletop RPG, minifigures, and TTRPGs. And we want to discuss how we can take our love of those kind of games and mix it with Extra Life and Extra Life fundraising. And our board game expert Nate has a couple of things I'm sure he'd love to share.
Yes, for sure. Thanks, Dave. So, board games. I think when people think about Extra Life Game Day, a lot of times it's like video game or PC streaming. I think that you can totally make tabletopping a part of your game day, or this upcoming weekend we have a whole appreciation for tabletop. I'm gonna talk about how you can bring tabletop gaming into Extra Life on two different pieces of this. One, the event itself, and then another on like what types of games you can make more interesting with donations, incentives, etc. So, starting with the social aspect first, put this meme here of what looks like me instead of posting baby pictures. It's just my collection of games.
Such a good one.
Yes, and I'm always the person that shows up to a party with board games in their bag or from something else, and or always have a recommendation. So love board games and bringing them in social spaces. I think different ways that you can have it tie to Extra Life events. I think one that's more formalized but also really exciting is a tournament. So if you have a card game that this really goes for any game, not just tabletop games, could be minis. But a tournament, you have a buy-in. I know one idea that I really want to do is like a rotating tournament. So like a bunch of games that are all similar weight and you move around each of them every 5 minutes or so. I think that idea sounds super fun and also probably chaotic. But like you can partner up, you can have teams, like whoever wins the most games. You have some entry fee. Winner of that, it can go to their fundraising pages. There can also be challenges within the games themselves. So I think the second sub bullet there, donate to a winner's page after each game. So that's just a fun way to have some stakes to it. The first one I've tried before, and it can be very, very interesting and funny. But you could take a turn or move for someone, like a little bribe. Very funny with like big engine buildy games where you're trying to get to something and someone just like blocks you completely because they're like because that comes up. But you're a winner anyway if you're fundraising for the kids. So I did want to call that one out. It's something fun that I've done for some donations in past game days. And then kind of pointing to the meme here, picking the next game from the stack. I feel like a big thing with board game days is there's so many games, people want to play their games. Maybe you do a little bid for who wants to get the next game to be selected within your party. So these are just some ideas of an event itself. To go to the next slide here, I wanted to talk about specifically some of the mechanics. And there are, if you go to boardgamegeek.com, which I would call like the wiki of all things board games, the truth of all board games, there are tons of mechanics out there. But I put a few of them here that may be common, with some more well-known examples, some that are more unknown, that are just games that I really like. But there are ways that you can have fun with your donations. Again, if the group is okay with it. You could have a very competitive group that wants to, win without anything going on. But if you're doing it for Extra Life, that's truly winning, right? That's more of the fun. So some of the mechanics that I have here, roll and writes. So these are often games where you have dice or a deck of cards that get flipped over. You also hear like roll and move, which may be like Trouble, talking back to some of those kids' games. But maybe you want to re-roll, so you could mitigate your luck with a slight donation. You can set that up front. The auctions are another mechanic that could come into play here. A lot of games have their own currency. Let's say like Monopoly, for example, which, to Dave's point earlier, if you play by the rule book, there are auctions. But you can bump up a bid with a donation. Say you don't have enough in-game currency. Maybe, hey, I'm just gonna pay $5 to the Extra Life Bank and maybe bump my donation there, as long as everyone's cool with that. Negotiation or trading games, I think, is a really good one, because those are often social in nature. Everyone is, Catan, the classic. I have wheat for your stone. Maybe I have wheat plus $5 to your Extra Life page. Ooh, now that deal sounds super enticing. So extra trade incentives there. Area control is one I used to generalize maybe team games, as well as just dudes on a map is another term for it. But maybe you want to partner up with someone to say like, hey, don't touch my I'll use Risk as an example. Don't touch North America. I'll make sure to donate to your page if you don't mess with it until turn whatever. Or it could be the opposite. Like, I could buddy up with Dave so that he goes and invades Payton's area. Who knows? Anything that you'd want to do, it's sort of similar to negotiation, where you can use that as incentive as part of your tactical play. And then the last one I want to call out, a lot of these are competitive games. There are cooperative games. A lot of those are against some automation or a bot. Kind of similar to a flip that comes up of a card or something that happens in a round. Maybe you can say as a group, okay, let's try and make this one a little easier for us so we can try and win. We'll donate to Extra Life to, make that okay. Or you could do the opposite, that, oh, we want to make this harder. Let's donate as an incentive there. So just lots of different examples of ways that within the games that you're playing, you can add some fun with Extra Life donations.
Actually,
if you're okay with breaking the rules a little bit, which, that's part of the fun.
it's for
What board gamer isn't?
it's
Yeah.
for a good cause, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, you're always winning if you're fundraising for the kids.
That's right. That's right.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of something I used to. Have you ever played Zombie Dice?
I haven't. I've heard of it.
It's kind of one of those where it's like you roll and basically, like, it reminded me of a game we used to play for money growing up. So like you could even take a game like left, center, right, one of those games, and maybe have it like winner gets a donation. So
yeah,
those are all great ideas and can be applied to different kinds of games.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like poker, like any like betting card game too. It's just like, why not do it for donations, right? Like things like that. Just a very simple idea. That's all I had on board games. I could talk more about plenty of them, but
And if we have time at the end, we could definitely like riff on stuff. that we've done too personally.
For sure.
Yeah, I would love to hear like different ways you have implemented some of these in action and like how people responded to it. It's so cool like how community centric this is, right? It's like you are all like playing like a board game together and donating to like help each other while playing together. I don't know. It's just very cool.
Yeah, like having a running tab might be a good way to keep
Yeah.
track and donate all at once at the end.
That is generally what we do. We
Oh,
we have
nice.
like a whiteboard or something and just like mark it because you don't want to interrupt the gameplay.
Right.
Just be like, okay, I'll get you later. I owe you. I promise.
Reroll, reroll,
Yeah,
reroll.
exactly.
Awesome. And now, of course, we're going to talk about a new category of miniature figure gaming.
Yeah, I'll be jumping in here. When it comes to miniature gaming and raising money in the same way, I like to split it up into two different parts. The first part is the hobbying. It's the arts and crafts side of the gaming hobby. It's very, very easy to set up a stream. You can use your smartphone. You just need a way to sort of keep it up and above your hands while you paint. It's very, very, it's one of those things where you can go to a local game store and you can get some old models for like $5 to $10. And then just spend your time painting those miniatures and learning to paint. If you don't know how to paint miniatures, that's totally okay. Take time to learn. Learn on stream, because people love to watch people learning. Having said that, there's a couple of things that you can do to incentivize viewers to donate even more. One of the things is a challenge. There's a couple different things I like to do. The first one is, I would not recommend it unless you can pull it off, but the idea is you take a D4 and you assign a limb to one of the 4. And then whenever someone donates, you roll the D4 and then you have to hold the brush with that limb.
Oh.
Yes, yes. So that is another thing, and I'll talk about this later on. If you're raising money for Tabletop, people love chaos. People love randomness. People want to feel like something happens. Of course, something happens because they're donating good for charity, but it is the kind of thing where if you roll a dice when someone donates, something directly happens. And I'll talk a little bit about this later. You can also switch the part of the miniature that you are painting every time someone donates. You can be painting the wing and maybe someone gets bored. So they're like, I want to see you paint something else. So you switch a different part. You can switch the miniature you're painting. You can have a lineup of miniatures and you can be like, next time someone donates, I'm moving to the next one. You can have an auction of a miniature, which is like, while I'm painting this miniature, whoever donates the most money gets this miniature. Something like that. Donations and suggestions, you can name a
Payton, I
miniature.
have a question before you go on.
Shoot. No, please.
Do you ever have to redo what you started if you do
All the
like
time.
that switch hand challenge?
All the time. Well, that's the fun thing about it, is like you get it with your right hand and you make a bunch of progress, and then you try to do it with like your right foot or your left foot, and then you ruin it, and then you're back with the right hand, and then you gotta it's just fixing what you already did. So it's
Amazing.
Donations and suggestions, you can get bases with little nameplates on them, and you can have donators. You can either name it after the person who donated, or the donator can suggest a name. Voting on a color scheme, you can say, here's the miniature, we're going to take time to vote on what colors you want this miniature to be painted. You can have a palette set up on the screen, different numbers associated with the palettes, so you don't end up with, you could just do random, of course. You'll end up with a pretty horrendous miniature, but whatever works. Sometimes horrendous is the goal when it comes to making stuff. And yeah, vote for the next miniature. So you can have a list of options of like, do you want to see this one, or this one? Donate to make a suggestion or something. That is pretty much it for hobbying. You can also do challenges. Those are more just, instead of just having just a stream where you're just painting something, you can have a stream where you are specifically only using a certain technique. or you're only focusing on a certain technique. Like, I want to, what is OSL? What does OSL mean? You can have these as an options for what people want to learn, whether it's original source lighting, OSL, non-metallic metal, dry brushing, wet palettes. There's so many different techniques out there that people have more interest than others. And then if we can go to the next slide, donations for playing. So when it comes to tabletop gaming, I was talking about this earlier. Everybody loves rolling dice. Things that I like to do and things that I have, by the way, as a part of Tabletop Weekend, I will be hosting a Warhammer Age of Sigmar tournament at Games Plus in Mount Prospect this Sunday. Feel free to register. Feel free to come along. Feel free to donate. But there's a couple things that'll be associated with this tournament where donations become involved. The first one is you can donate a reroll to a player. So I'll have a line. Let me backtrack a little bit. First of all, I want to talk about setting up a tournament in order to raise money, and how it can be a lot simpler than you think it will be. It, of course, depends a lot upon your local game store. It depends on what they have available to you, what the community that you are associated with has available to you. Terrain is a big deal, but you can make terrain if you're creative enough. I would recommend you can use cardboard. You can just use cardboard cutouts. That works fine. But just going to the store and saying, I want to set a tournament. These are the dates. What do you think? I find a lot of the time stores are very, very open to running tournaments for charities. And then once you get your tournament set up, you can set little fun things where donations can affect the tournaments. So what I like to do is I have a roll of D6s lined up at the table, and anybody can donate $10, and then they give a reroll to a player. And that player has the ability to use that dice in order to roll one of their rolls. You can do disadvantage, which is the next time they need to roll a dice, they have to roll and take the lower result. This one, I usually only like to limit this to the person who's in the lead, because I don't want players to kick each other while they're down. And this is open to players in the tournament. This is open to people wandering in and observing. This is open to me as the tournament organizer. Donate to destroy. You can set up numbers on the objective markers for a D6. And you can have people on stream donate to say, I want to blow up objective number 2. And it's boom, it's gone. Or you can have them say, I want you to roll a D6, and then whatever you roll, that objective ends up blowing up, and boom, it's gone. You can have destroying units. Every army has a centerpiece. Every army has their big favorite model that they put in the center of the table that they worked hundreds of hours on and painting and made it look beautiful. Donate $40 and it blows up. Just something like that. And finally, donate for chaos. I will have a 20 slot chart at the tournament where every time someone donates $20, they get to roll a dice. And based upon the slot and based on the D20 that they roll, something chaotic happens to every single tournament board map in the tournament. So, for example, you could roll the dice and suddenly it starts pouring rain on the battlefields, and everybody is slowed by a certain amount, and enemies and people can't fly, and you can only see a certain amount of feet out, so you have to get closer to each other. You can roll it, and suddenly there's a chaos god from the warp, and he's taking notice in the battlefield, and he calls for battle, and people have bonuses to getting closer and fighting closer in combat. You can have certain objectives be worth more points than other objectives. Maybe a player's behind, maybe he's losing really badly, he's only holding one little corner of the map, but suddenly that corner of the map becomes really, really important. There's a lot of things you can do to do a dice table and have different results. Don't worry about balancing it, is the follow-up. Make it fun. Make it something people want to donate for and want to see explosive results. It's at the end of the day, it's don't care about balance. It's for charity, and people will generally understand that. Depending on the tournament, it's something I would stipulate beforehand. Make it fun. Try not to go too into the stats and into the weeds. Try not to go too far into like everybody gets -1 to hit or something like that. That's no one really cares about that. Make it like this thing explodes. Make it thematic. Make it have flavor and taste and feel like there's a story evolving on the battlefield from your donation. Yeah.
Yeah. This
That's
is
about
really
that.
cool. This is really cool, Payton.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you can do. There's things called, you can have a painting competition. You can get points for painting models, and then you can have chat. If you're streaming your tournament, you can have chat vote for who wins the best painted army, and then that army gets points in the tournament. Or they can donate to make that voice heard. There's a lot of little things you can do. I could talk about this forever, unfortunately.
That's awesome.
Yeah, as someone that doesn't know a ton about Warhammer, it is cool, like, connecting it to what I know, which is a lot of like hobbyist tabletop board gaming in a different way. But like, there's often this unfair delineation of like European games, which they call like they're just like Euro games, which are victory points. You're building up to something. It's like very multiplayer solitaire. There's a puzzle. It's like very strategic. And then like there's a bunch of games that get categorized as like Ameritrash, which is an unfair name, but like Amerigames, which are more like experience based, like about the story, rolling the dice. And so I'm like connecting a lot of that's more interactive and fun with this at like a grandiose scale, which I think is really, really cool, because bringing it to board gaming, especially if like you bring those Euro games, it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna build my little farm. That's the one that I make a joke about. But like this is just like massive scale, massive
Oh yeah.
like donos,
No, it's
re-rolls, everything. I think that's really cool.
It's really about, like, a part of it is about telling a story. I think ultimately Warhammer has its origins in not being balanced at all, and more about telling a story that's happening on the board. It's gotten more balanced over time, but it's always been about roll a dice, something explosive happens,
Yeah.
or there's a chance something explosive happens. That and just the hobbying side of it too. If you can tie the gaming with the hobbying as the game itself kind of does, I think that can lead to a lot of good things.
And kind of jumping off of what Nate said, I'm hearing things and it like resonates with things I thought about, like how some of the ideas from really both of you and with the miniature gaming can like I'll talk about in a moment here about TTRPGs, but it's just like there's similarities and things that's really cool about like the idea, like the concept of those ideas that can be applied to different things, depending on what kind of gaming you want to do and how you want to set things up. And I'm also, it's like I tried Warhammer once, and now I'm like, well, maybe it sounds like something I'm like I might have to try. I don't know if I can make it out this weekend, but
that's okay.
You're gonna be
intimidating.
It's
intimidating. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Starting it was one of the most intimidating things I've ever done in my life. Yeah. Getting started is really, really intimidating. It helps if you know people in the community.
Yeah.
And it really depends on the community that you play with. If they're a welcoming, warm community, if they're okay with like rules being bent or broken, or they're just here to have fun and play games, they're a great community to learn. Yeah, there's a lot of and you hear about it and it's like, yeah, I spent 5 hours playing one game of Warhammer, and as people who don't know anything about Warhammer, they're like, that sounds insane. And it is insane.
I'm sure people feel that way when we talk about playing something like was it Imperial Twilight or
Twilight Imperium.
I brought up the Stardew Valley. I'm like, from what I understand, that's not a short game either.
Good.
Yeah. Awesome.
I wonder if we could do a Warhammer 101 event, Payton, to make it more accessible for people who want to learn.
I'd love to. Yeah, I probably could. And that's the other thing is
somewhere down the line,
yeah, there's levels you can play at. There's smaller scale skirmish games if you don't want to paint an entire army, which is understandable. Which is frankly how I got started. I'm like, I'm only going to play a a kill team. I'm gonna paint these Kriegsmen. I'm gonna paint these 10 guys with gas masks, and then suddenly I have 80 of them and a tank and a bunch of basilisks and a giant robot. And then I'm like, oh, there's fantasy. I can use these for D&D too. And then I have 80 steel helms. And then I have a Manicore and a Griffin and all this cool stuff. And it's just like, man, it's accessible if you have someone who can help you lead it through. And I would love to have to be an option for the community to reach out to if people are interested.
Great. I'm so excited for this tournament on Sunday too, and
it's going to be a
to hear
lot of
about it.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that we
I'm missing
have.
it. It's gonna be awesome.
I could talk about the tournament. I could talk about what we'll see.
Oh, you can.
If we have time.
Okay.
I don't want to take too much time.
Yes. Talk about the
Yes?
tournament. Yes.
Okay.
Go
So
for it.
we will be seeing at this tournament. Hold on, I have it up right here. So far, just of what the players have reported, we'll be seeing an army of cannibalistic ghouls, an army of steampunk dwarves,
Okay.
an army of berserkers, and then an army of ogres so far.
Nice.
And I will be bringing my Cities of Sigmar that I've been painting very, very hard on. So, yes.
And for those who don't know, Age of Sigmar, that's the fantasy.
That is the
Warhammer.
fantasy side. Yes. It's
Okay.
split between Age of Sigmar, which is fantasy, and 40K, which is sci-fi, which is in the 41st millennium.
Space Marines. That much I do know.
Space Marines. Yeah. I could, yeah.
That makes so much sense. I never put that together. The 40.
You never knew that they were split between
the two? No, I don't know why. I never thought that. I thought it was just like a I don't know, some categorization of something.
Yeah, no, it's split between the two universes.
Yeah.
And there's crossover between the two. Like both universes have demons. So you play a demon army, then you have an Sigmar army and a 40K army.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much to learn.
Again, it's one of those things where there's literally so much to learn that the only way you can ever play a game or hobby with people is that you have to work with them with what they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we are so thankful to have you on the Extra Life Chicago Guild leadership to introduce these new worlds to the gamers who might not know about them, including myself.
That's what I'm here for.
You're the best. Okay.
All right.
We are moving forward.
I'm talking about tabletop RPGs. My background, I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. Started when I was about 8 years old in the 90s and continued through as a player until I've become a DM for 5th edition. Sometimes you might see me at libraries giving talks, doing one-shots, and I put together some ideas hanging around a bunch of gaming cons. I've heard a lot of ideas of what I might do for my own fundraiser, but also people have done as well. So if you want to go to the next slide.
Yes.
Some charity streams I've seen, and I feel like a lot of what we've talked about today can be applied like from the miniature game. And like I was listening, I'm like, there's a lot of that in RPG. So like you can take a lot of these ideas and apply them to whichever. You could probably come up with something for everything. An idea I have, and kind of Payton, what you mentioned is like coming up with you could make like a menu for donations. So from some of the streams I've seen and what people have done in the past, they've kind of set like donation points. So they said like depending on what the kind of event that might happen. I like the way you said like introducing some chaos or some fun. I think is the best part with these donations. So with this menu, you could do something like a donation for re-rolling, as you mentioned. And in RPG, that could be something. A lot of times, you know, you roll a d20 to find out what happens. Say you don't roll well, or you're just close to hitting, So you donate to do a reroll. However, in this case, you re-roll the die. Whatever you get, you stick with. So that could be a critical failure. You might hit, you might not. But you are donating to get that chance. I saw Hangman's Girl bring up rupees for re-rolls.
Mhm.
And at some of the cons we've been at, we used to do like $5 donation. People got a rupee. They could head it into the DM as like a marker for a reroll and basically use that. So people were coming up, getting little cupfuls of rupees. You could also at a different tier set, like maybe a little bit higher, you could do something like you can donate to have advantage on a roll. So you roll 2 dice, you take the higher of the two. Or if you want to throw it at another player or the DM, maybe you donate for disadvantage where it's roll 2 dice, take the lower of the 2 values. So you could set that maybe a little bit higher than the reroll because it has a little bit more flexibility. Also, could really change the outcome of how things happen. Or you could even set a higher tier for like a critical success. So it's just like an automatic, maybe a $50 donation. Like this is an auto crit on a dragon. So it like maybe the dragon's halfway done. That could be the shot that takes him down, something like that. And then, or maybe you want, say, like a bard is performing and you just kind of mess with them. So you donate for a critical failure. So that bard slips out a banana peel and falls off the stage. Something like that. Who knows? But you can take ideas, set it a little bit higher, figure out what you might think is correct pricing. You could even do donations for potions of healing. If someone's like near death or low on health, you could donate a certain amount, whatever the DM thinks is appropriate, and then that could bring someone back or potentially keep someone from falling completely knocked out. You could have like like a randomness table of like donate and then roll a d20 and find out what happens. Is probably the most appropriate way I could say it. You'd also vote for encounters or naming characters. Say like it could be something where it's like if you have someone, if you and you could have this set up for like people watching if you're going to stream or players as well. So like maybe you as a DM have something going on where people could vote with donations while you're telling the story. You can develop it in the background. Or if you have an NPC, for an example, someone in this chat had me name a shopkeeper's assistant who literally had nothing more than like was walking in the background, but I had to come up with a character name. So you'd have something like that where you donate and name that random character. If you want to go to the next slide, that's kind of I feel like Payton hit a good point of like there's different ways you could set this up. You could set up like that menu for while the game's going on, but you could also set up like donations for building an adventure. So you'd have something where it's like, and I was when I was putting this together, I was thinking about it with Donor Drive. You can set up milestones or adventures. So it could be something where it's like maybe you have a milestone if you reach so much. It could be like one might be unlocking a one shot versus like a higher tier could be like unlocking like all right, we're gonna do like a 4 session adventure or something like that. Like you could have different tiers if you want to set up with like those milestones. You'd also have donation goals for monsters to use. So you could set up those milestones like if we reach so much money, we're gonna have a mind flayer or a beholder in this encounter. And you could also have it for the incentives. You could have basically what I was thinking is like using the incentive, you can kind of name it. So it's like you could set the same price if you even wanted to, where it's like dollar donation votes on like maybe the monsters we're going to use or maybe the setting we're going to use, things like that, so people could vote with their dollar amount using the donor drive settings.
Mhm.
And that, I mean, it requires a little bit of work and math. Like you're gonna have to probably like go through and like, okay, I've got so many votes for this, but at least like people when they go onto your page, they can at least see like here are the options. They can pick it, and that fills out the donation amount, and they just go through. And then that all kind of goes in together of like set up an adventure to run a one shot and donations to join. An idea I'm thinking about doing is like, um, if anyone's ever had experience of kind of having a professional DM, sometimes it's like you hire a DM for however long, and it's like, I don't know, $150 for you and like 4 friends to have like a pro DM run an adventure for you all. They take care of everything on the back end, so you could set something up where it's like you could have that incentive mark, and you could set as many as you want. So if like time is kind of the essence, or limited availability, I should say. So like maybe you set up like 4 of those donations. So only like you only set up 4 of those kind of parties, but you could also have like um a smaller amount where you're like, all right, I'm gonna run an adventure. People can donate, say $25, and they can join, and it'd be a group of randoms, or it could be a group of friends who all donate, and then you just work out the details from there. But um, I was really trying to think of some ideas of like incorporating the donor drive, of like using milestones and incentives to help one with the fundraising aspect, but also different ideas you can use them in.
Mhm.
And Hangman's Girl says there is a report you can pull on donor drive of all the people who redeemed an incentive. You can pull that, and it's in Excel, and it's easier to sort. So
Hmm.
easier ways to do the math. So yeah,
Nice.
those are kind of like some ideas. I'm personally thinking of like maybe trying to run a one shot for charity this year, and kind of maybe using the incentives like I mentioned. I've been cosplaying as a certain fandom recently, and there used to be an RPG that is now out of print. So I'm trying to make it a streamlined, like 5th edition kind of thing for it. And I might do like donations to help like design like where it takes place and things like that. So um, I think we have a little bit of time.
Dave,
I know. Oh, what's
I was
up?
gonna like ask some questions kind of tied to this. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of these are from the perspective of the DM, right?
Yeah.
Is if that's fair.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's some ideas here too of like what you could do with your group for like character sheets. I don't know, like the voting stuff. It's like, oh, the rest of the group can vote on like what my character is going to be or do. I think you had something like that around name, but
Oh yeah.
like, do you have anything else on like as a player what would be an interesting way to
Yeah.
like get donations or things there?
For sure. So like I've done kind of maybe like what Payton said, like picking a character, and I've seen friends use this with like say Diablo 3, where it's like you use the polling system or the incentives to vote. Like you could have species or class, so people could donate to see what kind. Um, you could probably even have it like donate to mess with stats, like where people, you could have like incentives set up for like what stat do they want you to see you put the most into versus the least, and then you have to build like some kind of character based off of that. As a player, I think like with the streaming too, on the previous one with like the menu, I think like if you stream it with friends, like if people want to donate to that, they could also help you as a player. So like they could donate to give you these kind of like, someone watching could donate like I want to give that person a potion of healing, so I'm going to donate to their page. And like I said, I think that's something like as a group you might want to figure out. Maybe a DM might want to be like, all right, let's set some standards, because it could really throw a game off. But I mean, if you're doing it for fun versus like your very serious ongoing campaign, I feel like these really apply more maybe for one shots or a set adventure. Um, Donations during character build. I've streamed character building sessions, so like if you want to stream while you build it, um, creating like background stories. You can also have like maybe donate to background story.
I'm
Oh, go ahead.
sorry if I could just jump in really fast. I
Yeah.
remember that you said about donating for milestones or things like that.
Yeah.
What if you were able to set up donations where the donations could affect what is happening in the background of the game?
Mm.
So like the more people donate, then the more a NPC gets further on their mission. Or
Yeah.
the more the big bad evil guy progresses his plans forward. Or
Yeah.
something like that. To where donators feel like they're like
Impacting the story.
actively impacting the story.
Yeah, versus like just
Yeah.
certain encounters and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that totally be. You could even like have them vote on what the main bad could be. Like maybe it's a vampire, maybe it's a mindful. You could certainly set up things like that. There's a lot of flexibility. I know. I guess I now think about it, I'm like I did write this. I feel like I've been a forever DM lately. And that's where my mind's been, but I feel like at least like some of the menu things could be used as like as a player. Like you could just set it up where things like that, where someone could donate or you donate for yourself, however you want to set that kind of thing up. TMet, that could be fun.
Maybe like a magical item shop.
That was
where it's
another
like
thing.
You donate and then you pull out a magical item and you offer it to a player for a price or something like that.
Or I think what could be fun is like there was something I was trying to think of for like random magic items that could be fun, where it's like maybe you donate and the person like donates a set amount and they get to name the item, but then the DM has to figure out what that item is based on the name. So it's like magical shoes of boom, where it's just like you have like every time you walk it sounds like a herd of elephants walking through, so like your stealth's gonna be awful but you're gonna be maybe intimidating. You could use it for fun. It makes me kind of think of the game Munchkin, if you ever played it, like the random items. So it's just like you have a name now, like they have to figure out what that item is. So I think there's a lot, and I think combined with a lot of what we've said is like between the board games and the wargaming, like there's a lot of things that could be applied within the rules of like what you are playing. So maybe it's like with the control, it could be something like in a TTRPG, it's like donate to see like maybe this faction lost control of whatever city they have had, and now I don't know, the unicorn kitties are now in charge.
There's something. I mean, that's the other thing, is that you can run a campaign.
Yeah.
I'll use Age of Sigmar as an example. You can have a crusade where things happen as you progress through this crusade. You can have characters die off from armies. You can have characters gain experience. They can get sick or hurt in between games, so you can't use them for the next game. Maybe there's a weird ally that you come across, and like suddenly your Cities of Sigmar army has a weird knob Gobbo with the bad moon behind him, something like that, something insane. Yeah, crusades are another way to really, really kind of have a story and able to have donors affect that story. They can vote on things that would happen to armies in between battles, and then have like a direct result of what literally happens on the battlefield.
And like talking about these games, it makes me think like, Nate, if you play a legacy game, you could maybe set up donation incentives like for a legacy game.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, or like narrative games, just different things like that. Some that have like apps as well, and you can select different things or like go down different paths. It's like harder with. I feel like TTRPGs are so free flowing and creative that like it can be a little bit more open. Where like a lot of the legacy games are just like open the box and this is what happens now, right? And you can't really
Yeah.
like jump around that. But like it's almost bringing up an interesting point of just like I feel like all three of our categories have a scale to it, right? And it's like quick tabletop games versus like a long form campaign or crusade, right? Like there's just different ways to think about it depending on whatever thing you choose, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Hyacinth is also saying, as a lifelong D&D player, I just want to throw out there that I think that if you're streaming a game as a free form, the TTRPG RPG safety tools are more important than usual. Also something every time I talk about running RPGs, having safety talks is always important. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
would say
Yeah.
doubly so.
yeah.
Stream.
Yes.
I think like also just in game in general, having like boundaries is important. Really everywhere, boundaries are important. I know we have a few minutes. Does any? The other I put this slide in here. Get your friends involved. If you're part of the reason I put that in there is like I'm a part of like some board game groups. I go to game shops. You know, if you go to these locations, you know a good group of people. Wear an Extra Life T-shirt. Maybe you know, if you have Extra Life, I have a bunch of stuff. But I was saying like the dice tray, things like that. Bring those out. Use them with your plans. Maybe talk about it and get them to sign up or at least help out in your games. Do we want to talk for a few minutes, or I was saving this last slide for before we sign off, but
Oh,
I guess if people have questions or anything, feel free to put them in the chat as
Yeah.
well on anything. We can talk to it while we're talking the news here.
I know Jackie had brought up. Do either of you have an example of like uh, anything you talked about previously with your fundraising? And Payton, I know I will have like if you stream the roll the D4 for which
Yeah.
for your paint,
Yeah.
if you stream that, I need to know about that.
I'll let you know. Yeah. That one will be interesting.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
most
Go ahead, make
I was gonna say my most successful one of the examples I shared is definitely when people donate to take moves for me because they love seeing my plans fail.
Oh.
So that's that one's always good.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I mean like for me it's always just donating every single Extra Life. I do the 24-hour stream with Eisen Play in the chat. And it's just a matter of like what disgusting things am I gonna do this year? Like, what are people going to donate in order for me to have to ingest and hold down on camera? How badly am I going to have to wax my legs this year? I enjoy those.
I 1 year did zombie Skittles, and it was like I was doing like a whole those little small like Halloween pouches of zombie Skittles, which are like worse almost than the Bean Boozles. And for some reason, like I got a bunch of donations all at once, and or like I did a D20, so it also randomly kept getting the zombies. So I ate 5 in a row, like 5 little pouches, and I felt so ill. So it's like,
what are they? What are zombie Skittles?
they're like Bean Boozles, but they're like the Skittle versions. They're disgusting.
Ew.
Yeah. But hey, it's for the kids.
It's for the kids. Yeah.
For the kids.
I was just gonna say that.
I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. I know.
Except I'm sorry from Emily.
Yeah, the provider of the zombie Skittles. Before
I have a question.
Yeah.
Aren't there a bunch of like effect tables in D&D that you can roll on and where something just happens, like chaos magic, right?
Yeah. Hangman's Girl said wild magic, so you could have something
Wild
like that. You could also have like for encounter. There's like tables for encounters. Like if you're walking through different areas, like when like setting up creature stuff, like especially like some of the pre-made adventures, they'll even have like a table like you roll a d10, and you could see like what the characters either see or might run into. For example, I had like one where I rolled and my players were walking around like on a cliffside looking down at the ocean, and they saw like a cyclops just kind of like eating giant crabs in the water. Like they didn't fight them, but they just saw them. So like, I mean, you could even set it up where it's like, if someone donates between $1 and $10, I will do whatever happens on the table. I mean, you could set something up like that where it's like donate between this range, and we'll use that encounter on the table. There's a lot of that. There's also like tables for magic items, like you mentioned. Kind of talking out, I think the fun of like you name an item, or Hangman's Girl said like use a setting of like the Munchkin cards as like magic items or enemies in the game, and just use that as some sort of incentive as well. I think there's like a rubber chicken hat could be an item, or tinfoil hat I know is one, and you could set that up like prevents psychic damage, but it's a tinfoil hat. It works. Knee pads of allure. Oh my gosh. The Munchkin. Yeah. There's a lot, and I feel like you said, there's a we could talk forever about some of these. One thing I will plug is if you're not already in our Discord, it's a place to be. You can reach out to us for ideas if you want to talk. I'm always happy to talk about Extra Life and gaming things. We have a lot of cool people in the Chicago. I say the Chicagoland area because Lurie's helps so much of the Chicago area, but also the suburbs and Northwest Indiana, which is amazing to know how much territory, I don't know, area that coverage. That's the word I'm looking for. Coverage that the hospital provides. And before I also forget, I want to put a slide together. We have a lot going on this week for Tabletop Weekend. So for, of course, tonight is the 9th. We had our little talk. On the 13th, time is still being figured out, but it may be the evening time. We'll have a Pathfinder one-shot here on the Twitch channel. And on the 14th, Payton is putting together this awesome Age of Sigmar. I almost want to say World of Warhammer, but Warhammer. Warhammer Age of Sigmar tournament at Games Plus in Mount Prospect. And also this month we will be at C2E2 between the 26th and the 28th at McCormick Place in Chicago. Is there anything else you all want to sign off with?
Yeah, we have also our bonus round cafe game night on Friday. It's the 12th at 7 p.m. Your game pass and snacks and your first non-alcoholic drink are included with your RSVP. I think we only have 2 spots left. It's limited. So if you want to do that, let me know. Pop in Discord. There's a link there to sign up if you want to join us and play some games on Friday night.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on Extra Life and our favorite forms of gaming?
Embrace your creativity.
That's a good one.
Honestly, just have fun with it. Be creative. Be chaotic.
Yeah.
Seems
Have
like-
fun. Make memories. It's not all about winning.
Yeah.
Nate's like saying it to
Contrary,
himself. He's like, it's
contrary
not
to
always
popular
about
belief.
winning.
Contrary to what Nate wants.
Yeah.
I have to agree. I think like the biggest thing is like adding, I think, donation incentives can really change how the game plays. But in the end, remember the cause that you're raising for is making a difference for the children who need the care that they're getting. So, Hangman's Girl said, "Did those words come out of you?" So yeah. So thank you everyone for hanging out. We'll be back Saturday the 13th for our Pathfinder. Follow us on social media. Link should be in the channel, Discord. We will be around. Thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you soon. And I'm gonna steal a line from Will Wheaton: "Play more games." Night, everyone.
Bye all. Happy tabletop appreciation
Bye.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.